Hello, friends. Happy Thursday. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful to see your smiling face here. And yours too, Izzy. You and I both doing our very best with our remote work setups. If you saw me here, I have this little light that I have plugged in to get a little bit of light on my face at 10 p.m. in Rome, Italy. I'm not complaining, by the way. I'm not complaining. My vacation starts immediately after this stream, and I'm very, very excited. Where are you, Izzy?
I'm in Toronto right now, downtown Toronto. I'm at the Design Thinkers Conference, and my setup is also weird because I have this big mirror in front of me. So not only am I looking at myself on the the stream platform, but also directly in the mirror. So actually, I wish I could clone myself like this for actual
Yes.
work, but doing it for today.
I love it. Well, listen, we're going to have some fun. Anyone who's hanging out with us in the chat, either live or watching the replay, will tell you a little bit about our show. Ask a Designer is where we bring our real life clients onto the show. And I'm really excited to bring Sharon, my client, who is behind the brand Mom to More. And I think what we'll do, I'm going to show you her brand in a moment. We're actually going to create a project for Sharon and Izzy. I'm going to lean on you and your design expertise. We're going to set up a brand in Express. And the whole point of this stream is it's really designed to get you comfortable in Express, even if you are a first timer, setting up your brand, coming in here with an idea of the project that you want to create. In fact, why don't we let Sharon set up the show today? We'll throw to her video right now, and she'll tell us what's in store.
Hi, Phil and Izzy. It's Sharon. I'm a client of Phil's, and we just launched my new Mom to More website. It's gorgeous, by the way. And I realized that now it's probably time to up-level my Mom to More podcast promotion template. So the one that I presently have is in Canva, but I've been hearing a lot of great things about Adobe Express, and I'd really like to try it. Oh, by the way, did I mention that I'm a bit of a tech boob? So it's got to be easy for me to use. So do you think you guys can create an updated, up-leveled podcast promotion template for me? And while you're at it, I think I could use a new picture in there as well. Thanks so much. See you guys in the chat.
Sharon, thank you. I want you to know, and I want anyone to know watching this stream, that even if you don't identify as someone overly technical or savvy on a computer, I feel like Express is made for you. This is a safe space for you to bring an idea. This might be something you're working on with a VA or with a designer, or you might be, approaching this on your own. We're going to show you how all of this can be done in Express today, which is my favorite platform to create standout content. And Izzy, I'm pretty sure it's your favorite and a handful of our friends in the chat.
Absolutely. Actually, let's say hi to our friends in the chat. We have Wade, we have Dr. Caitlin Wright, Frank, we have Patrick, Clever Devlin,
Oh, we
and
got the whole
yeah,
crew.
the whole crew is here. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. I'm going to show you on my screen just as kind of a setup of what we're working with today. Now, friends, this is like hot off the presses. This is Sharon's brand called Mom to More, and it is all about reinvention. Her message is so poignant and so wonderful. And I feel like this is an audience that doesn't get a lot of attention, but it should. And that's why I'm really excited to help Sharon mobilize this brand and get it in front of as many moms as possible that are ready for this next stage of their career. So this, she had a logo, an existing logo that she brought to us, and we said, and wanted to update her website, which I'll show you how this looks in a moment. This is her website. And
Gorgeous.
websites, thank you. Websites for us are like the moment where all of the branding comes together. So like the messaging, the positioning, Izzy, like we're putting things into words, which we know is what's necessary for us before we put pen to paper. And even when we're designing a website like this, it's based on a concept. So here we've selected some typography. We've selected colors you saw there. We're starting to visualize how this brand could look. Photography, super important. I have pre-selected some photos that Sharon is comfortable using for a podcast promo that we're going to create, not just one, but we're going to actually try our hand at a few of these in Adobe Express. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Yeah, you're
I'm ready
ready.
as I'll ever be.
I love it. I love it. So I'm going to go ahead. I thought, normally, Izzy, when we're starting a project, we have a brand pre-set up, but I want to go back to basics. So sometimes I actually got feedback on this once. People were like, so how do I even set up my brand? I saw it all set up. Oh, there goes my light. I saw it set up and organized. We want to actually show you how to do this. So when you come over to the brands tab in Adobe Express, so even if you start on the home page, hold on, let me go back. Start here. Okay, you'll click create a brand, you'll give it a name, and we'll get started from there. So let's start from here. Izzy, I've gone ahead and shared this with you. Let's talk about obviously the obvious things that you're going to do. You are going to upload your logo files. So let me go ahead and grab a few of those. Let's pop this one into place. I may just pop a few examples in here, and we can obviously add and enrich this later. We're going to go with a darker color on the base, so we'll do a lighter logo. And basically, you will just hop in here, select your templates. You may not have any to start. Assets are something we're going to use today. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in some photos that Sharon has approved for us to use. And it is really just this simple. Popping in the photos from your brand shoots. This could be stock photography, maybe something you found over on Adobe Stock that you want to bring over. Just popping a few in here, and I'll add a little more once we get designing. Finally, you have an option here between color palette and color swatch. A color swatch is an individual color, whereas the color palette, it's going to give us right here the option. Let me go back to our colors, where we can actually select the specific color that we want to have in our palette. Now, there are millions of colors. How do you know what color to choose? Well, my recommendation is you ideally work with a designer. Maybe you've got a creative friend, or maybe you've got a designer in your wheelhouse. You know an Izzy or you know a Phil. That is, I have to say, AI is amazing, but insights from a professional are still the best option. Okay. So what we can do is we'll hop over here. Izzy, agree? You don't you agree with that?
Oh my goodness. Yes, you're preaching to the choir right here.
I knew I was. So I'm actually copying over the hex code, which is a 6-digit combination of letters and numbers, and we're just pasting it in. That is how we get the exact color that we want. And so one thing that Sharon brought up, just while I bring these over, one thing that Sharon brought up, she said, Phil, I'm familiar with Canva, but I have heard about Adobe Express. Chances are she's heard me talk about Adobe Express. And so I thought it would be good to spend some time today, and as we're designing, I'll demonstrate what some of the obvious differences are. I've been very successful actually in setting my clients up for success on Adobe Express. Let's remember something. So here, let me go ahead. Okay, so are you feeling good? I guess I could add it. Let me add another logo, Izzy, in here. And then we have some logos. I shared you on this brand, didn't I? I'm pretty sure I did.
Yes, you did. Let me double check.
Beauty. I'm clicking all the wrong folders here. Here we go.
I got it. Yep.
You got it. Great. So when we're designing a logo, hopefully you can see this on my screen. We do a variation. I like this one because it says podcast, and I'm going to add one more into our folder, reinvention. Let's add this one. And if we find, Izzy, when we jump in here that we want more, we'll go and get some more. But friends,
there you go.
It is that simple. I wanted to show you, because sometimes when it looks pre-populated, right, it's like, gosh, how do I even begin that? Just begin. You can always come over to the brands tab, add more logos if you build these out, add some more color swatches or palettes, as well as add assets. What could assets be? It could be stock photography that you approve, that's brand approved. It could be photo shoot photos. I have clients that are like a landscape architect. She'll pre-populate her assets with her portfolio projects, real estate agents. You get the idea, okay? So this is transformative, what you're about to see. Announced at Max, we have the ability to import new file types into Express. That includes InDesign projects. That includes Lightroom. Love it. Lightroom photos. I'm about to actually add in a bunch of Lightroom photos from today. Do you want to see something cute, Izzy? I'm taking us off topic here. That's me at the Vatican this morning.
Oh my goodness, look at
Yeah, the little
you.
tourist with the
Yeah,
little earpiece in. Yeah, that was this morning.
that's
Um,
awesome.
I'm actually going to use Lightroom to touch that up. And I'm like new to Lightroom. I'm like a, Photoshop, clearly Express guy. So I'm mentioning InDesign, Lightroom, but also Canva projects. So this client is over on Canva. She's like, I don't really understand it. I don't really get the hang of it. Phil, teach me Adobe Express. And so we've got this project here that we can then go share, download I would choose it as a PDF, which is going to retain the layers. Okay, so I'm going to choose PDF standard. We're not going to flatten it. We're going to keep the layered elements. And I'm going to show you how awesome this is when we bring it into Express. Okay, here we go. That is it. That's what we downloaded. And we're bringing in a PDF. That is typically the best way. Now let's remember, if there are fonts, you'll see if like the word mom in this template is a font, so that probably won't import properly if that font is not preloaded. I'm going to pop in the logo that we have to really
Mhm.
retain that styling. It feels a little risky to leave it as a text layer. You agree, Izzy?
I do agree.
Yeah. Just it's just like the likelihood of being able to mess that up. No. Okay, friends. Did you see how fast that was? And I'm working from like Italian Wi-Fi. That literally took just a few seconds. Let's also remember there may be some issues. So for example, I'm going to delete this because it reassigned the font. I'm going to delete this and I'm going to move Sharon down. I'm going to delete all these texts. No, I might leave the name. I'm going to leave the name, or I might actually keep it as one. Sharon Macey. Just like that. We'll leave it as a single. So when you're importing things, expect that you might get 90, 95% precision and accuracy, but there might be a few little things in here. Like, for example, these imported as separate, like individual text characters. That can happen, and that's okay. Because the whole point is it gets the majority of the files and such in here. I have tested this. In fact, I have a blog post on my website that is all about importing. It compares Canva and Express. Keep in mind, as the owner of a branding agency, I've worked and I'm familiar with both platforms. I've got clients that use one. I've got more clients now that use Express because that's what I recommend. And let's remember that Adobe invented the PDF. And so when you try to import files into Express using the start from your own content, for me and my testing, it works a lot better than in Canva or than other tools. Particularly in Adobe Express, it imports these files with really high fidelity. So let's go ahead and open our brand. Izzy, I'm probably going to lean on you for some ideas on designing, as I always do.
Okay.
I'm like, Izzy, look at this brand that you've never seen before. Help! We have fun, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, you're testing my abilities as a designer live, literally for everyone to see. I'm up for the challenge.
I know, but you do that so well. What are you doing in Toronto, by the way? You're at a design conference?
I am at a design conference. It's the first day today, and I'm just blown away with the topics that we're touching today, and I'm feeling very creative. So you're catching me at a very good time.
And you're feeling inspired. That's what we want from you.
Yes. I mean, always, but more so today.
I love that. Friends, I want to call out some what are seemingly basic features in Express, but for people that are thinking, I want to try Express, I've used Canva before, or I want to start in Canva, I haven't used anything before. I want to call out some of the places you should start. So the first one was from that homepage, click start from your own content, bring in a PDF. In this case, the PDF is one that I exported from another browser-based graphic design tool. Second place you should go, elements. So right over here on the navigation, scroll right to the end, shapes. We love shapes in Adobe Express, and I'm going to show you why. We have complete control over the size, the color, dimensions, etc. So in this case, I've got a border. I'm going to get rid of that border, and we're going to start to use our brand colors that we set up in literally a few seconds. As always, in if you've ever played around with Photoshop or InDesign, you'll know that we count on layers over on the right-hand side. So if you've ever used another Adobe tool, you might be familiar with layers. We use them, we love them, we've got them in Express. Also, when you're designing, see the little purple little, little guides? Those show up. That's going to help you get things centered. It's going to help you get things lined up. Um, basically, um, you heard a little bit from Sharon at the start of the show, but Sharon is wanting to update her podcast template. This book, she said this, or this photo, she said to me the other day, she said, Phil, it's too boss lady. It's too boss lady. It's good for like a book cover. That's why I said book by accident. It's good for, something like that, but she wants something a little warmer, a little more um, podcast feeling, Izzy. That's the mission.
Okay.
So are you up for this challenge? I'm wondering
I'm
if
up
we
for.
leave this, maybe we duplicate.
Let's duplicate it. And also I'll
Yeah,
need an invite to your file.
thank you. Yes, because we just imported it. So let me get you there. You're going to be able to see it there in a moment.
There you go.
And let's give you a second to jump into that project. In the meantime, I want to show our beginners, people that are just getting started, the third place to go. So if you remember, the first one was import, you start from your content right here. This is for me, if you're a beginner, this is the best thing to do is hop in here, import something that already exists. It could be an invoice that you need to update the amount on. It could be a PDF, it could be a JPEG, it could be any of these things. Bring it into Express and start to get familiar with the features. Second thing, elements, which you'll see when we're in a project canvas. Shapes, design elements. This is a great starting place in Express. Third, click that purple plus sign and hop right over here to quick actions. This is not only a gateway into Express for beginners, but this is also a gateway into Express for creative pros. Chat, I see you. I actually don't because I'm working from one monitor, but I trust you're there and I'm trusting Izzy to tell me when you say something good. But I know many of you are whizzing around in Photoshop, InDesign, Premiere. And so sometimes you go, well, what would I need Express for? Get familiar with what you can do quickly in Express. It may not even mean needing to actually start a project, but look on screen. There are a lot of different quick actions that can be very useful for even the savviest of designers. QR codes, remove background, which by the way has gotten really good. Lots of features in here powered by Firefly, resize image, edit PDF, that's powered by Acrobat. Some of these are powered by Photoshop. A lot of them are Firefly, right? Which is Adobe's generative AI platform or engine, which you see across the suite of tools. Just get familiar with what you can do quickly. Insert object, remove objects, generate image, powered by Firefly. I just wanted to point this out really quick because a lot of people don't know that this is here unless we tell them. And that's why I'm telling you that this is something that you can start from, or this is something you can do quickly in Express. I'm going to start with this image and I'm going to show something. The last thing I want to demonstrate, Izzy, and then we can get designing. Were you shared on that project? No problem.
Yes, I'm here.
You're there. I'm coming over here in a second. What I'm actually first going to do is just demonstrate resize. So I showed you we imported a PDF, which brought in the layers, had to fix a few little things on the import. Just the text layers can get a little funky if the font's not preloaded or available in Adobe fonts. But check this out. This is a photo that I love of Sharon. So she's got the headphones, the podcast feeling. When I select this, this is a new feature. We've always had duplicate and resize, but now you're going to see resize with this little option up here, expand. As long as the image on the canvas goes edge to edge, top to bottom, or side to side, it has to be one of them, we now have the ability to not be constrained by the edges of the photo, which as you can see, literally there isn't any kind of like overhang or anything. So if I was to stretch this, it's going to crop it in. I'm hoping to get a little bit more like room to play. And then I'm going to bring this over to our project, Izzy. But I want you to just experiment with this. So bring in an image into Express, have this enabled. For this to be enabled, you must have an image go side to side. Watch what happens if I don't. Here, if I like drag that down, see how it's grayed out? So if you're in here and you're like, why isn't this enabled? I can't try that thing that Phil showed me. Look, one or the other, or both, top to bottom, edge to edge. Let's, for this example, make this a square. I'm just going to choose Facebook post. Remember that when we're resizing, we can choose as many as we want here. I just chose a square canvas, but watch what happens. Duplicate and resize. Rainbows, rainbows, I'm announcing on the streets of Rome. I don't know what rainbow is in Italian, but whatever it is, I know I already like it. What this is doing is it's using generative AI to extend the sides where we needed that extra space. Prior to this, we'd be constrained, right, Izzy? We'd be constrained by whatever the dimensions of the image are. And now we've got 3 excellent options. That one looks like a curtain. I'm going to go, I think, with that. Keep it. And I'm going to bring this over to our project. Let me make sure I'm on the right project with you. Is it this one, Izzy? Is it this one? I think it's this one. Yes,
It
I
is,
see
yes.
you. I'm going to go ahead and add a new page, same size, paste that image. There we go. And okay, I think we're off to the races.
All right. So is it my turn right now?
I think so, if you're up for it. I know, I realize I'm throwing you in the deep end. You're like, let me design something with this project that I've never used. But that's the fun of this show, Izzy.
Yes,
That's the fun of this
absolutely.
show.
So you want me to use this image?
I think so. Yeah. And then I can also
Sure.
find some others if you feel like
You
you
know
want something
what? Like,
different.
let's see what we can do. We have 2 I mean, we have 30 minutes left. Maybe we could
Yeah.
have a few like examples to show with
I
like
love it.
different, yeah. Okay.
I love it.
So this one, I think the message is very clear with the headphones that this is like a podcast. So I'm just going to be looking at what we have because we don't want to depart too far, because when it's too different, sometimes from my experience, and maybe Phil, you can weigh in, but the client is going, whoa, it's like, it's not what I was expected. So you need to kind of have like a few examples to just like, easy transition. So if you want to bring them to a whole other new design where everything is changed, I would say have something in the middle. So I guess for this one, because we have the red shirt and we have that red background here, I think this is our middle transition. So I'm going to just copy the logo and bring it here. Now, because if I have it at the top here, I'm having a conflict of visibility, I'm just going to bring it down, which is a good design choice if you like. And again, you might weigh in on this, Phil, if you want, but we're seeing the face before seeing the logo, which I find that where brands are going these days, we're less about like the massive corporate of like, here's the logo in your face. It's more about relationship and, that personable approach and creating that rapport with an audience.
Yes.
And then we want to, there's not that much element, when it comes to
it's
a
simple.
podcast,
When you
like
a podcast promo. I think I actually love that you just brought that up because I think simple is better. We need to think about where do we want to put this. So right now it's sized as a square. That's typically when I'm designing these. That's what I start with. Izzy, you'll notice I popped in a few more client images at the back of this for maybe some, depending on how much time we have, we'll maybe be able to create 2 or 3 different templates. Look at the power of the brand photography. I had the same reaction, Izzy. I'm like, the logo looks amazing. Her top looks amazing. She looks fantastic, Sharon. Don't over fuss with this. You know what I mean? Like, don't slam it with brand elements just because you have them. Sometimes an image speaks for itself. And I think this is an example of, where there's such nice contrast and we don't need to add a ton for this to look awesome.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's also something to be said about looking away from the camera, if we're talking about photography style, like see this, if I can zoom in, it's good to be looking. So it says a very different message. So here there was like that corporate vibe that we're trying to get away from, because you know why we're feeling like this? Because this pose where we have the hand on the hip has been overused.
Mm.
This has so much more personality. And if the topics about this podcast is more about let's create a world, here's a new vision for you from all mothers out there looking somewhere else where you're like imagining already conveys the proper message. So,
Yes.
yes, to your point, Phil, photography tells a massive story. Can you tell I'm at a conference? I feel like I have like all the proper words today.
You do. You do. You've been like studying all day.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Okay.
though. I'm glad you're like getting inspiration.
Oh my gosh. This is like, I mean, I do events for the Ottawa Design Club and it's on a much smaller scale, but this is it's my passion. And I'd say like even podcast is still very similar to, I mean, like a speaker conference because it's the same thing. You're taking a topic, you're sharing a main message. The podcast, the cool thing about it is that you don't have a schedule. You can listen whenever you want. Whereas a conference will, you have to be on site and it's like, okay, I'm like just gonna like consume all of the content today.
What I love specifically about Sharon is that she hasn't let the tech get in the way. I mean, the podcast, by the way, which people should go and listen to. Everyone, I mean, has someone in their life where her message is poignant and relevant. That's what excites me so much about this brand. It has the potential to impact so many people. But she has learned so much about how to navigate tech and podcasting and promotion, and it's really inspiring. And that's why I feel like the last missing ingredient for Sharon is Adobe Express in her workflow. Because not, I mean, what we're working today from, this is looking really good, by the way. I like what you're doing here. Um, it's it's looking really good. I'm also adding a few more slides in and after,
Okay.
um, using generative expand. I'll talk about that in a second. Um, the other thing too, I was going to say, Izzy, is with podcast templates, we need to leave room. We need to leave room on the image. I've learned this sometimes the hard way. Think of
Mm-hmm.
this as like a tiered approach. If, for example, this is going on Instagram, you're going to want to layer some of these elements in Express, but there are elements that you might want to add text, stickers in stories, music,
Yes.
maybe not in this case because we'll probably put the audio of the podcast. Um, just kind of think about like what is it I want to do in Express to dial up the design, the look, the sophistication. What are the things that I might want to leave for when I bring it over to Instagram if that's where you're posting? Whether it be text layers, tagging your guest on the podcast. That's not something you'd want to do in Express. Obviously, you'd have to do that directly in Instagram. So we just kind of want to think about like, yeah, we want to think about
Mm-hmm.
that. That image, can you scroll down for a second,
Yes, this
Izzy? That
one.
image, that was literally like horizontal landscape image. And I just used generative expand in the same way that I showed you with the rainbows earlier, brought in the image, resized it for an Instagram story, and it used generative fill to complete that top. Isn't that cool?
It's so
This is new in
cool.
Express, announced at Max. I think it's so awesome.
It is awesome. That's gonna save so much time and so much work. So here, what I want to do, actually, I'm gonna just do fully justified text because it's easier to scale. So I'm wondering if having the name of the guest like that is a little too small because
Mm-hmm.
yes, the podcast is about Sharon, but we're also promoting the guest that's on there. So maybe there's a way that we can just align everything properly, conversation with. Because sometimes when we have a photo over a photo, it can be a lot. Like this for
Yep.
me feels heavy. So
Hmm.
sometimes having just a name, but giving it the proper space for the proper attention. So I'm just going to group this so I can easily scale it like so. Then
Yeah,
I'll
good
have to
call.
readjust. I might have to change the
Again, I
color
like that
of
you're,
conversation. Yeah. Sorry.
but I like that you're, again, not fussing with the design. You're taking cues from the image, the brand image.
Mm-hmm.
That's always
Mm-hmm.
what we want to like lead, you know?
Absolutely.
That's important.
And I'm also trying to align copy because this is a copy, like this is what you want the viewer to see is the copy. So trying to make everything visible, but also just making sure that there's a visual reference. So invisible lines for the text to align properly. This is, I mean, okay, maybe we're getting into the weeds of like graphic
Designy
design
stuff.
here,
Yeah,
designy
that's okay.
stuff. But this is what is going to make your design like from a beginner designer to a like more I don't want to say professional, but just experienced designer.
Hmm.
Um so here, and there's also a difference between lines like actual alignment and then visual like how it lines up visually. So here technically that logo ends here, but we want to make sure that it's aligned with the end of the E here. I'm trying
Hmm.
to visually align it maybe with the M, like the here that little like line of that like cursive,
Yeah.
the last cursive M. And then it needs a bit more room to breathe.
What
And
a
I'm just gonna,
classic designer thing to say.
absolutely. And you know what? Just because that watch here is giving me a bit of issues with readability, I might have to scale the image
Hmm.
just to move it out of the
Also,
way.
if you
And
need more brick on the side, I can get you some of that using
would you
expand.
actually that I think that we
Yep.
could, I'm like trying to see, and this is the tricky thing, is like how do you kind of fit everything in a square for those who are designers solely for social media and are designing with squares all the time? My hat goes to you because it is a hard format to design in.
Let's tackle this together. If Paco can switch to my screen, I will literally let's do this. So, and Izzy, you should be able to see on my end. We're going to
Okay.
start from content. I'm going to bring in the image that we are working on. We're going to import the original aspect ratio, just like that. We're going to click the image. We're going to resize with generative expand enabled. Once again, the image has to go side to side and or top to bottom, one of those. And then what we can actually do in this case, I'm going to, let's see, you're going to want it to be more horizontal. So let me try with a YouTube thumbnail. Izzy, let's see where that
Mm.
lands us. Rainbows! I'm sorry, but I feel like I have to announce that every time it happens. Um, Friends, so this is generative expand at work. I just think this is like the coolest new feature, and I will show you multiple times because I love it. Izzy, this is a great option right here where it fades to like a
Yes.
blank wall.
Yes.
So, and this is also kind of neat with this, but I think you're going to want the darker tones. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you tell me what you like. They probably all look the same to you because you and I are both on small screens. Let me go with, I think this one.
Yes. Just it's gonna give more contrast for text.
Perfect. So, here, I'm gonna pop this into a page, Izzy, right after the one that
Okay.
you're working on, because I don't want to mess anything up. But now we've got some more room to play.
Yes, that's
And friends,
awesome.
that took literally seconds. Once again, we import the image, then click resize and choose dimensions. The pixel size doesn't matter too much. For this exercise, it's more so the dimensions. In this case, we wanted more horizontal room to play. So we choose YouTube thumbnail. Izzy, I also put the photo of the guest on a
Okay.
page after in case we want to incorporate that. But this is
Yes, we
looking good.
should actually. So
Hmm?
if we put the picture of the guest, I'm gonna remove conversations with because that's actually what is messing up the design and not making it like readable. Like there's a readability issue. Now I want to crop this, but in a circle and like the photo of the guest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having a brain fart where I don't know how to do this anymore. And I know
To crop as a circle, you will.
yes,
Here, let me show you. So we'll paste it onto the canvas, and then you'll go crop but the image has to be selected in order to get that.
I
And
see.
then you choose your shape. There we go.
Awesome. This is great. And just gonna make it a little smaller and
This is why
actually,
we have each other. In case you forget
yes,
something, I swing in and help. And Lord
yes.
knows I also forget things. And you swing in and help, Izzy. Or I say, Izzy, design this, go, using a
We're the
brand you've never seen or used.
perfect team.
We are.
So here, and I liked that if we go back to the first design that we already had, Sharon was using, there was that white border around the circle of announcing the guest, which I do like the emphasis that it has. So I'm just gonna go to element. I think we're on your screen, Phil, but that's okay. I'm gonna go to shape.
Here we go. Now we're on yours.
Okay. And then circle. Gonna change
Yippers.
that to white and just bring it behind and making sure we have just a tiny, there you
Little
go.
overhang.
Little, oh yes, just so we can see everything properly. And I like to look at it from far because don't forget a podcast cover will most likely be seen on a phone, so it's smaller than like what you're maybe looking at design on in other instances.
Good point.
And then I'm going to lock that image and then just select both the photo and that shape and group it. So then I can easily align it.
Treat it
So
as like a single element.
yes. I'm just going to unlock this because I want just a little bit more room between the arm here and the guest photo. And now I can actually extend it. There you go. So that would be, for me, option number one.
Mm-hmm. I
Do
love
you
it.
like it?
It's so pretty. It's so simple. I love that there are three colors: red, black, and white. And it's like, again, we are working around the brand photography. We are working around the human. Leading with a graphic design for a human-led brand can feel passe. Alternatively, this feels timeless because it
Mm-hmm.
is anchored around the thing that makes it human. Izzy, you also did what I said, which was like leave some room to be able to add the tag. Like you could add the Instagram tag for Heidi right above, like almost by
Mm-hmm.
where Sharon's watch is. There's a few different spots you could tag her. You can also, friends, well, again, we've worked from a square template. Would be great as a feed post on Instagram. But if you
Mm-hmm.
decide, oh my gosh, we want to turn this into an Instagram story template, you can. One of the big differences between Canva and Express is that Canva, you can only have one size of page in a project. Whereas in Express, you can keep all of your different sized pages,
Yes,
say
like
for a
so. Yeah.
campaign in one project. So you're not limited in that way. And I found that to be hugely beneficial. Yes, Izzy, we're previewing it on your screen. So you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing here a variety of sizes. Maybe we work for a few minutes on the Instagram story template. What do you think? I just rearranged it to come next
Should
after this
we
one.
actually show a resize of this just to see how it would, because then we can easily just pop everything in.
Well, that's a
So,
great idea,
so
Izzy.
let's do
That's a
this.
great idea. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we would go here. I'm just going to exit this. So we have the resize option right here. What I love about the resize feature is literally everything is just there. You can just
It's just
click
there.
it. It's just there. Like you don't even have to
Yeah.
think about going to check the sizing, which I already
Yeah.
always have to do for Illustrator files because I forget. But here we have Instagram story and we can click as many as we want. And we're just going to do duplicate and resize. And there you go. And
Do you want to do the honors of saying it?
rainbows.
There we go. That's what we were looking for. There's
There
the
you
main
go.
event. Look at that.
Oh, look at that. That's who
Um,
I love the differences in outfit. Like this
yeah, I
is
know.
like,
Leave it to Firefly to like also
yeah,
be a
seriously.
wardrobe stylist. Um, Actually, that brings a
Like
good
this
point.
one.
With brand photography stuff, I will normally be selective about letting Firefly generate like
Mm-hmm.
body parts, tops and bottoms. Like
Yeah,
I
I
try
agree.
not, yeah. So even if Firefly will create like a midsection in this example, I will typically like crop it out because it's not authentic. It
Mm-hmm.
might be close to Sharon, but it's not Sharon. So I'm always like extra careful with stuff like that that's AI generated. Um,
Let me
so
go
maybe just
get the
keep that in
original.
mind that like, yeah, we just, AI is incredible, but we have to be careful when we're like AIing people. Um, in this case, I think it got it pretty accurate, but still, you just want to be conscious of that. We don't want like
Mm-hmm.
AI. We don't want AI to be the center of attention. We want AI to build around the human, which is the focus. Is maybe how I would say
Absolutely.
that.
So here's the original photo, and there you go. And I basically for this, even though we have it like so, I would actually group everything like so. Oops. Even with the logo, grouping, making sure it's centered. I would just bring it down a bit. And I can actually make the guest a little bigger. The
Hmm.
story,
Yep.
because there's most likely going to be a handle to make sure that
Yes.
people can also click on the guest. And I'm going to center this image like so. So we have, maybe I bring it down so we have a bit more room if we want to have something here, like a link or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, bring this down a bit, like so. Easy peasy. That took like seconds.
It literally took seconds. It looks amazing. Um, Having this shot on almost like a plain background, but not so plain that it's boring, really lets AI
Mm-hmm.
shine. So having Firefly extend that beautiful blue either way is a great idea. Izzy, you're I love what you're doing here. You're like not over designing it and you're leaning into what makes these photos so beautiful. Which is Sharon. It's her outfits, it's the colors, it's all of it.
Yes.
It's looking really good.
Okay. I'm on like some like a I want to make sure. So I'm already like going on another podcast cover right now.
Yeah.
Just looking at the logos because we
You want a
have like
few
a
more?
different no, I think it's good. It's just because I
Great.
was cropping it by accident. So okay. So I really like this because it's giving us like a different way of like positioning the logo, and we can again use the photography to our advantage here because we as human are very what's the word I'm looking for, subjective
Mm.
to like our eyes being directed for
Yeah.
us on where we should look. Is this so? Yeah, I don't think I was using the right word.
You did you did
Okay.
great. You did great.
Okay.
We're right there with you, Izzy.
So here, having that finger up where we're kind of pointing, and again, not in a corporate way, like or like cheesy way, like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's done so well and so natural, as if we like specifically as a French person, I always talk with my hands. I would do something like that. So this feels very like a natural pose, but we
it
can
does.
use it to our advantage to actually point to the logo. So again, we're seeing Sharon first, but then like understanding the brand as its like identity or entirety in one like millisecond, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Again, leaning into the photo, leading into the
Yeah.
human. Start with that and let that kind of point to the cues. I mean, in this case, literally pointing to those good opportunities to build around it without overly designing it. That's like what I'm taking away from this, Izzy, in
Yep.
watching you approach this brand with like fresh eyes. I've looked at it now for a few months and I love it so much. And it's been such an honor to be a part of like helping Sharon turn it into a really comprehensive brand. She came to me with just a logo and I said, Sharon, I can't really make like a really great website until I have a system, a toolkit,
Mm-hmm.
which is really your brand identity. It's not just colors and fonts and calling it a day. It's a system. Um, it's a
It
system. I
is.
just thought of something else that you might like too. We have these really cool patterns, pattern files.
Ooh,
I know. I just am remembering how much you love patterns. So let me place one and see if you're
okay.
inspired by it.
You know what?
I
I'm
know we don't have a
almost
ton of
keen.
time.
Oh my gosh, no, that went by so quickly.
I
I,
know.
I'm almost keen of giving an option where we don't announce the guest, because
Yeah.
another thing, another strategy that could be interesting for podcasts is always having the same cover, but then having the title with the name of the guest. So there is that visual repetition that's going to happen. I've seen that. And maybe Phil, you don't agree?
No, I do agree. I think it's an opportunity to like tell a story
Mm-hmm.
and not have the same thing all the time. This was
Mm-hmm.
actually what initiated this conversation with Sharon. She was like, "Well, what if I was to have multiple templates?" I said to Sharon, like, it's one thing to have
Mm.
like a consistent podcast cover for branding. It's like having a logo that should be consistent. But the ways in which I knew you were going to love those
Yeah,
patterns.
they're
I just
nice.
knew it. Um, the way in which you promote the podcast can be different. Maybe it's like 3 or 4 different templates. I mean, we've already gotten a handful in the time that we've
Mm-hmm.
had together. Um, when you have like a comprehensive brand identity like this, it gives you just a lot of flexibility in
Mm-hmm.
terms of how you can show up, how you can keep it fresh. It's this balance, right? Is he between like, this is
Yep.
my brand and this is consistent, but it's not the same every single time. We still,
Mm-hmm.
so much of branding is like having permission to stay in the playground, right? We draw the edges. We say this is what it means to be on brand, but part of this is also experimentation and
Mm-hmm.
going, I'm going to try this. Don't put a ton of pressure on yourself to make a perfect, Michelangelo piece of art like I saw in the Sistine Chapel a few hours ago. That was
Oh
amazing.
my gosh. This
Um,
is my dream.
yeah, we got to get you over here. We should have coordinated better. I should have packed you in
Yeah.
my suitcase.
Oh my
But
gosh,
we
yes.
don't, yeah. Branding isn't like, it's about having permission to play. It's about knowing what it means to stay on brand. Remember, in Express, you're working from it, Izzy. We have our brand set up with
Mm-hmm.
logos, colors. And so that's what it means to stay on brand, but also with the permission to go outside of that. I love what you're doing here.
So again, very simple, very demure. No.
Yeah.
um, and just again using the brand elements and see how they can work together and being in that state of play. And you know what? We have a nice blue as a brand color here,
We do.
which could work
How did
here.
you know that? Working from a
Oh,
brand kit.
well, you know,
Gotta love it.
I was taught
Gotta
by the
love it.
best. This here could be nice if we had a black version of the
Mhm.
logo.
Let me get it for you. There are
Awesome.
so many different logo variations that I didn't, for the interest of time, upload them all at the beginning. So Izzy, let me go ahead and pop that in for you.
Okay.
The horizontal version, leave it to me, leave it to me. Here we go. Here we
There we go. That's what I want to do.
go. Oh, I think that one has reinvention on it. Let me see if I can get. We always save out multiple versions of a logo. Oh, here we go. There it is. that one, not this one.
There you go.
Oh, I love
Okay,
it.
this is fun. Let me just make sure that it's hitting at the right place. So the reason why I wanted to crop, I'm going to show you with like a more like zoomed in view. I wanted to make sure that this line here, where we're cropping the photo, aligned perfectly with the R. So it just like gives like a visual balance. We could try to with the E. Looks better with the E. But then hold on, because there is that cursive. I'm like squinting my eyes. Do you do this too when you design, Phil? You're like,
I do.
I like go for it, and then I squint my eyes, and then
I do. I do. If someone like looks at me while I'm
there you
doing
go.
that on my computer, they probably think I'm losing it. But I do. I go squint. I'm like, can I still see it? Yeah. And then I come back here and then come up here. Do it
Oh
all the
my
time.
gosh, I'm like losing it because I'm talking to myself. Sometimes I'm not even on a live stream and I'm talking as if I'm doing a live stream like
Yeah.
by myself.
That's
And
allowed. No judgment. I don't think
right.
anyone in the chat is going to judge you or me for these behaviors we develop.
Do you have I have like karaoke parties by myself in my office. So that's
That's
like
the half the joy of this job, Izzy. Half the joy.
so we have a comment here from Ray saying, obviously Phil and Izzy are both online, but with two persons editing at on the same assets. Is there a way to chat while both editing the asset? Like chatting to one to another, like another?
Yes. In fact, let me talk about that for a second, because that's a
Okay.
really good question. So I would say it's not going to be quite as instant if we were messaging, say, somewhere like Slack. But if we were doing an approvals workflow, Ray, that's what I think of.
Hmm.
If we
Let's go
switch
to
actually
your,
over to
yes,
yeah, we
I
can
was gonna,
switch over to
yeah.
my screen, and what I'm going to show is what that looks like. So right up here, there's this little dialogue, a little comment box, and this enables me, especially when Izzy is on the same project as me, I can say, is this brand approved? Brand approved. And actually what I did there was I placed a pin, so I can go ahead and pop it over there. Here, I'm going to click submit, and you're going to see that comment come in. So, Ray, the answer is yes. They will take like a few second delay for it to populate on Izzy's end as well. But now we can basically do our whole approvals workflow. So, how awesome that we don't have to like upload, download, email thread. Like, no one wants that. It's almost
Ew.
2025. We're over that. Yes.
Blech.
Keep it all in one place. And I'll say, not only can we do our approvals workflow, Izzy will comment back here and say if she thinks it's brand approved.
Let me do
But
it.
friends, what we can also do is we can schedule this out on social media. I know that we just have a few minutes left, so I'm going to show you very, very quickly how we can do that. Again, not having to download and upload to a social media scheduler. Even on the free plan and Express, you can use the content scheduler. There's this amazing partnership with TikTok if you're creating TikTok content in here. Here, share to social. So Instagram, LinkedIn, X. Okay, so I can open up my connections here. Also, you're going to notice too that they are now grouped by project. So, for example, I have like my company set up here, Phil Pallen Collective. I could populate all my client accounts. I have to reconnect my Instagram, but I use Scheduler for Instagram content. You just have to connect your credentials every so often. But I'm just showing you a preview here of how that looks. So we can publish now. If you don't want to, and also save to draft. I love this. We can add this to a draft, and that means we can come back to it later, right? So that also in itself can be like a little approval workflow if you want. We didn't have time to convert this to a video. We could add an audio layer if we wanted. Friends Now in Express announced at Max last month. Can't even believe that was a month ago.
Oh my
Adding
gosh.
multiple audio, I know, multiple audio layers. Now you've got access to sound effects, not as relevant for the project we worked on today. But multiple audio tracks. You could have Sharon's voice, the guest voice, and the music in one track. I want to thank Sharon. Let's give her a thank you and a shout out for being our guinea pig today. Mom to More is her brand. She's absolutely incredible and inspirational. And we're so appreciative, Sharon, for you lending your brand to us to experiment with today. Izzy, safe travels. I will also be safe. Friends, stick around. No, actually at the end of the day. I'm not used to being on Thursdays, but still stick around, hang out. We'll see you. Thanks for hanging out with us and being active in the chat. We will see you not next week, but the week after on Ask a Designer. See you then.
Bye.